Howdy, how's it going? Welcome back, or howdy if you're new. This is the AYANEO Next Lite, and it is a affordable handheld option that I really had not considered before, but AYANEO was kind enough to send this over for review. I did not get to keep it, I did not get paid to review it, but they did ask me if I wanted to review it, so I'm going to give you my full and honest opinion before I have to send this back into them. But I want to say a quick thank you to AYANEO for affording me this opportunity, and a quick thank you to the channel members. You guys are the GOAT, the OGs, and you make unbiased reviews like this happen. So with all that out of the way, I'm going to give you my full and honest opinion for all it's worth. The good, the bad, and the meh. Well, as you know, I'm a quality kind of person. I like my higher end graphics, I like AAA titles. I kind of tend to go for the more overpowered devices and overpowered handhelds. This is, as it says, a light. You know, just like light beer, just like light drinks. It's not the full power, it's not the full flavor, but it's good. But it might not be great for everyone. So let's talk about the things that are great about it. But I guess before I do that, I probably should tell you the specs and the pricing. So the specs on this thing, this model is the Ryzen 5 4500U with 512 gigs of storage. It does have Vega graphics and it is Zen 2 cores, so there's that. It is good for certain people who may want to play indie titles or emulators or things like that. Maybe not the best for AAA titles, although it can play them, which you'll see here in a minute. You'll see some benchmarks and you can be the judge of that if you kind of find that good for what you need. If so, great. Let's talk about the things that are good. Again, like I said, it's going to be balanced. We're going to talk about the pros and the cons. Let me tell you about what you get inside of the box. You get a charger, you get a cable, you get a really nice box, some nice paperwork, and you get pretty much everything that you'll need inside of it. So inside of the box does come with a charger brick. It is a 60-watt charger. Not a big deal. You don't really need more than 60 watts. If you need more than 60 watts, stay tuned to the end and I'll tell you about dock options and power brick options to take care of you on that front as well. But the joysticks, awesome. They nailed the joysticks with one caveat. Now, I have to say this is a personal gripe. Probably won't be your gripe because everyone's hands and thumbs and digits are completely in different configurations than mine. But I have average hands, so if you have average hands, keep this in mind. When I play the handheld, this left joystick feels amazing. Oh, another party trick. It can remove, or you can remove these little top caps. They're rubberized outer material. Feels grippy, feels good. Nice grippers. The right side doesn't feel great because of the location. It feels more like a Nintendo Switch, but for some odd reason, I'm not even a fan of the Switch, but it feels more comfortable on the Switch. Don't know how that happened, but that's just something I needed to mention is the grip angle or thumbstick angle, just something doesn't feel perfect for me. And that's a personal gripe, so we'll move on. The buttons. Personal gripe again, they're a little small. Maybe small is your cup of tea. The D-pad and all that, all these buttons, they are membrane buttons. They function, they do what they need to do. Pretty tight button over here on the left for the D-pad. Pretty tight buttons over here. They feel pretty good. The joysticks are Hall effect joysticks with no interference. They have no dead zone issues. They function and they play quite good. I even played some Call of Duty, which you'll see here in a little bit as well. And I was able to do okay. Now when it comes to the triggers, great. Hall effect triggers feel pretty good. Bumpers feel pretty good. Now let's talk about the top. You've got your exhaust for the fan. You've got your two USB-C 3.2 Gen 2 ports. You got a 3.5mm audio jack, volume rocker set right here. And we've got a power button. We got one big fan right here. Now the fan, it's not too bad. Noticeable fan noise. It's noticeable. And it's definitely more loud than the ROG Ally or Ally X. It's a different tone. We've got bigger fan blades and it does okay in the temperature department, but the fan noise kind of is a trade-off, I guess. And as I mentioned earlier, this is a 512 gigabyte model with the Ryzen 4500U. I'm not sure if the storage is upgradable. I'll toss on screen if it is upgradable. So I have to give credit where credit is due. AYANEO made the internals of this device really nice. I do like that this big old fan right here is shielded with like a little foam surround, so it actually gets rid of any air gap, so it gives you a direct path from the back of this backplate here to the fan, so no air is being pushed around the device. You get it straight into the heatsink and straight out that heatsink. It's very efficient. That's probably what helps the temperatures a little bit as well. One of the things over here is these joystick modules. They're replaceable, really easy to upgrade, really easy to change out, and then most importantly of all are 2280 full-size NVMe drive, so you can put in whatever size you want, anything from a 1 terabyte to 4 or even 8 terabyte if you're crazy enough. But then under here I noticed something that I was not expecting, which is the Wi-Fi module. And in theory, since it has antennas, it's probably Wi-Fi Bluetooth combo, you could probably put Wi-Fi 7 on this thing. So I would be really interested to see someone upgrade this a little bit, toss in a 2 or 4 terabyte drive and a Wi-Fi 7 module. So look guys, it is a modder's dream. If you do find one of these on a really deep discount and you want something to tinker with, this is actually a pretty cool little platform right here. So figured I would interject this in the video so you could see what it looks like. But now let's move on to the bottom. We have another USB-C 3.2, and I believe this one does data only. I don't think this one does charging. I think the two at the top do charging, but I could be wrong. We've got our 2 speakers here. Speaking of audio, it's okay. It's not the best, it's not the worst by a long shot, but it is serviceable. It does do audio things. Try to play a clip above. So now moving back to the screen, this is a 800p 60 hertz IPS display. It is not bad, but it is not the best. It is not a 1080p OLED. It is not a 144 hertz screen, but it would be overkill even if it was a 120 hertz screen. And the reason is it just doesn't simply have enough performance to push anything higher than 60 hertz. In most games, I struggled to hit 60 FPS. I would say 90% of the games that I play, I really struggled to hit that 60 FPS target that I like personally. Now, when it came to emulators, I played the Xenia emulator, playing Import Tuner Challenge, which I'll throw a clip up here. And you can see it's doing 30 FPS, which is what this game runs at natively. I did not try to upsample it to 60 FPS simply because it borks the game and looks weird, but it is a pretty smooth 30. This is not a difficult emulator to run, but this is as far as I dove on emulators for this handheld, just simply due to lack of time. So as far as how the screen looks in person, it looks great. It actually has pretty good colors. The colors are pretty vivid. It's more of a warmer tone. The touchscreen does touchscreen things, albeit not as sensitive as I would like, but it does work. The AYANEO space. Here's another thing we can talk about that's a pro. This actually is good. AYANEO space is actually a lot better than what I remember, and I do actually like it. One of the things I really like is the overlay now, because it gives me all the data that I would normally need to get from third-party programs. So temps, CPU frequency, FPS, package power, you name it, it's got it. So I like that. And moving back into AYANEO space a little bit further, you can come in here and navigate to the settings menu. And you could change the performance tab all the way to 32 watts. You can change the FPS to unlimited, or you could do smart TDP to try to give you a little bit better battery life, which battery life is okay. It's not as good as an Ally, and it's definitely not as good as the Steam Deck experience, but it's comparable to certain handhelds, but you might get 30 to 45 minutes on certain games. Maybe longer if it's not a AAA title. But look, it's not bad, but it's not great. But it does offer all this at a $299 price point, so I guess that's pretty good. And we got a motion sensor thing, I guess, for like if you're playing certain FPS shooters and you want to try to aim with like the gyro sensor, which I'm not really into, but it'll do it. You've got Bluetooth 5.2, you've got Wi-Fi 6.0, not 6E, just Wi-Fi 6. Not bad, but not great, but it is a $299 device. You can calibrate your controller, you can do driver updates, you can do pretty much everything from this one little menu here. And it works great. It does. It's a really good app. I really do like it. Over here, you've got a menu button for the ISpace that'll bring one up, and it'll also minimize all the windows here. Since I've exited ISpace out, of course, it won't pop up. You have to have the app running in the background, which not a big deal. But look, I think it's a good handheld. Let's talk about some of the games and how they ran. I'm going to toss up, I guess, the first one, which is Modern Warfare. Now, for some weird reason, Modern Warfare 3 ran a little worse than Black Ops, which is kind of odd because Black Ops actually runs worse on some of the other devices, whereas Modern Warfare will run better. I don't know. May just be a way the textures loaded in, but I set everything at 800p, all the way down at the lowest of the low, and I was able to get between 40 and 50 FPS or so, and it played okay. I actually was able to win a match. Didn't get the best kill death ratio, of course. A little bit of awkwardness with the controls, but it played okay. I actually didn't have a horrible experience with it, but it just wasn't my cup of tea. I tend to want 100 or higher when it comes to FPS shooters. Check out the next game. The next game, let's just toss up Doom Eternal. This one actually ran okay, medium settings. Everything kind of averaged out to be around 50 FPS or so, give or take. It played okay. Look, I could play this for a while and not have a bad experience. I was having a lot more fun playing this than some of the other games I tried. Now let's talk about Forza Horizon 5. I tried to install this game, and for some reason it just crashed every time and I couldn't play it. So I ended up playing it through the cloud streaming Xbox app thing, which I'm not a huge fan of cloud streaming because you really need good Wi-Fi speeds, and I have a Wi-Fi 7 router and I have a 2 gigabit connection, and for some reason it just struggled. Don't know why, but it definitely struggled a bit. When I set it to performance, it got a little bit better, but there was still a noticeable input delay. Might have been the cloud servers that day. I don't know, but it wasn't great, so let's move on to the next one. Now, the next game I played was Grid. This particular Grid is a newer one. It really plays okay, in my opinion. Most definitely playable, but this particular title can easily hit 60 to 120 FPS at much higher settings on other devices. So when it comes to AAA titles, even older ones, you really have to tinker with things and dial things down to the lowest of the low in order to get at least 30 to 50 FPS. So, with some of those game benchmarks out of the way and most of what I wanted to say out of the way, I don't hate it, but I also don't love it. It's not my cup of tea, but it also is a $299 device for the starting price, which it's a pretty decent deal if you consider everything that they're giving you, and it is an AYANEO device, which does kind of offer a much different type of device than what you're used to. It's a more enthusiast device. AYANEO offers pretty good quality when it comes to like the joysticks and the triggers, and they did a good job on that. I'm used to feeling that type of quality on their devices, so I like that. It feels good, but the performance is not my cup of tea. All right, well, I'm rambling, but let me cut to the chase here. Who do I think this handheld is for, and does it get my full stamp of approval? Well, I think it's for indie gamers. I think it's for people who want to play emulators. I think it's also for people who might want to play cozy games or games on the go, and they want something that's just completely different and that doesn't look like everyone else's handheld. That would be a cool way to kind of stand out from your friends, to not have some boring plain device like everyone else has. It's different, it's snazzy, it's cool. Now, it doesn't get my full CPPC tech stamp of approval. It gets a Lite stamp, and the reason it gets a Lite stamp is because it does what it says it can do, other than AAA titles, which technically it can play, but it didn't play them to my expectations. Maybe when this device first came out, or this chipset first came out, I'm sure it could handle a lot of those AAA titles, but in currently November 2024, I just don't think that this is a AAA gaming handheld. But for 300 bucks, you get what you get, and it's not really a bad deal considering everything else. Yeah, you could pick up an ROG Ally non-Z1 Extreme or a used Steam Deck, but you'd have to go on the used market for that. And maybe you want something brand new, maybe you want something different. And if you like it, consider checking it out. If you want a way to dock this thing on your TV, I used the JSOX dock right here. Absolutely loved using this thing, but this will work with all of your handhelds. It has HDMI that will also support VRR, which is like VSync, G-Sync. It's a variable refresh rate, so it'll help take out some of that stuttering and some of the issues that you see when you don't have VRR. It just looks choppy. It'll help sync that refresh rate to your FPS, basically. You've got an Ethernet port, you've got 2 USB-As, and you also have another USB-C here. This dock, I'll leave a link below. I would highly suggest picking this up for anyone who has a handheld device, and it has cool RGB. And RGB means more FPS. And if you need a way to power all of this, I would highly suggest picking up a Ugreen 100-watt charger, and this will give you more than enough power to power all of your devices, including your dock, your handheld, and have enough power to where you're not going to be limited in any way for performance. Like with the Ally, if you don't plug in a 100-watt charger to a dock and you try to use that original 65-watt, well, it's going to limit you to the power profiles that you can choose because it doesn't have enough power to power the dock and the handheld at full capacity. So it's great to have this as an option, especially if you plan to upgrade later down the road. Battery life, like I said, the battery life was not great. So if you want a way to extend that, you could pick up one of these right here. This is a Ugreen once again. Battery bank is a 145 watt, completely overkill, but you can pick up the 120 watt, I believe. It's a 20,000 milliamp. Now, the 20,000 milliamp battery bank, same size, same form factor. This will give you hours and hours of use with something like this, and you can pick one of those up as low as 55 bucks on sale. Like I said, links below. They are affiliate links. They do help out the channel, and I really greatly appreciate it if you could use those, but hey, no pressure. I do wanted to mention those because they are a long-time supporter of the channel, and I like using those with any of my handhelds. So those always get my stamp of approval for sure. Well, that is the end of the video. I really appreciate you guys staying to the end. You guys are the OGs, the GOATs. We're going to have way more powerful devices, just ramping up one after another. Things are getting spicy out there, guys. We're getting an eGPU in this week to try out with some handhelds. We're getting another handheld next week. We're getting so much stuff back to back to back that I'm trying to line up for you guys. And I just can't wait to show you everything that's coming next. It's going to be great. I really appreciate all of you guys' loyal support over these years, and it has been so fun interacting with you guys and seeing what you like, what you don't like. And again, the Discord, everything is always, it's below, guys. Join up the Discord, give me a shout out, give me a holler, ping me. I'm available pretty much 24/7, no matter what you guys need. I'm there. That's my passion in life, is just helping people and helping you guys make more informed decisions. And I guess that pretty much sums everything up. So look, until the next one, as always, I hope you guys have a good afternoon, good evening, or good night.